In the heart of Igbo land, where the earth is stained red like old blood and ancient forests whisper secrets to the wind, lay a small village called Umuzu. Life here was simple, guided by the sun and the seasons. In this village lived a woman named Nnenna. Her beauty was like the first light of dawn, and her kindness was a melody that soothed even the most troubled souls. She was married to Nnenna, a humble farmer whose love for her was as vast as the sky. Though they were poor, their small hut was filled with laughter and the warmth of a love that many richer men could only dream of. Their happiness, however, was a fragile butterfly. A strange illness, swift and merciless, fell upon Nnenna. It drained the strength from his limbs and the light from his eyes. Nnenna spent every coin they had, sold every goat, and pleaded with every medicine man, but the sickness clung to her husband like a stubborn shadow. One evening, as the crickets began their nightly song, Nnenna took his last breath, leaving Nnenna a widow with two small children in a world that had suddenly grown cold. The village that once smiled at her now turned its back. Nnenna's relatives, who had praised their love, now saw only a burden. They seized their small piece of land, their home, and cast Nnenna and her children out like unwanted weeds. She begged for help, for a corner to sleep in, for a single yam to feed her starving children. But the doors of Umuzu remained shut. The villagers whispered behind their hands, her suffering a mere spectacle. One night, huddled under a mango tree during a fierce storm, her youngest, her little boy, succumbed to a fever. His small body grew cold in her arms as the rain washed away her tears. Grief consumed Nnenna. She wandered the village paths, a ghost of the woman she once was, until her own spirit gave up, leaving her daughter, Chimamanda, all alone. But the river that bordered Umuzu had witnessed everything. Miriam, the ancient river goddess, whose waters had heard Nnenna's cries, rose from the depths. She saw the fire in young Chimamanda's eyes, a fire of sorrow, of anger, of a thirst for vengeance. She took the girl into her watery kingdom, raising her, training her, and turning her pain into immense power. Years passed. Umuzu had all but forgotten the tragic family. Then, a new woman arrived. She was breathtakingly beautiful, her presence commanding. And she set up a stall in the market selling the most delicious fish anyone had ever tasted. She called herself Madam Sweet Fish. Her fish was irresistible, its aroma enchanting, its taste addictive. People flocked to her stall, their mouths watering, their pockets emptying. The village grew fat and happy on her fish, but as the craze for Madam Sweet Fish grew, something sinister began to unfold. Villagers started disappearing. A man who had once mocked Nnenna's poverty vanished one night. A woman who had slammed her door in his face was gone the next morning. It always happened after they had eaten a particularly large portion of the sweet fish. A chilling rumor began to spread. A whisper in the dark, Madam Sweet Fish's stall never ran out of stock. Yet no one ever saw her go fishing. Where did the fish come from? The truth was a horror too terrible to comprehend. Chimamanda would visit the homes of those who had wronged her family, her eyes glowing with the river's power. With a touch, she would transform them. Their screams silenced as their bodies twisted and scaled, becoming the very fish she sold the next day. The villagers were devouring their own kin. Panic seized Umuzu. The king summoned priests. Sacrifices were made to the gods, but nothing could stop the curse. People were afraid to sleep, haunted by the memory of the sweet fish and the faces of the missing. Finally, a desperate elder, remembering the sad story of Nnenna and her children, approached Madam Sweet Fish. He fell to his knees, not in fear, but in remorse, and confessed the village's sins. He begged for forgiveness on behalf of everyone. Seeing the genuine terror and regret in their eyes, a flicker of the girl she once was stirred in Chimamanda's heart. Her mother's kindness echoed in her memory. She knew her vengeance was complete, but it had not healed her wound. She stood before the entire village, her form shimmering, and revealed her true identity. A collective gasp of horror and understanding swept through the crowd. She told them her story, a tale of cruelty and its bitter fruit. Then, turning her back on the village that had destroyed her family, she walked towards the river. Miriam, the goddess, emerged from the water to welcome her back. Chimamanda forgave them, not for their sake, But for her own, choosing peace over eternal hatred, she disappeared into the water, leaving Yumuzu in a deafening silence. Forever haunted by a powerful lesson that a single act of kindness can save a life, while turning a blind eye to suffering can unleash a darkness from which there is no escape. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to follow for more stories from the shadows.